bit about people saying things were rushed through or expedited. Not so. What happened was we didn't have many bills. We could only have 2 bills each. So actually things weren't rushed through. The agenda was cut way down in what we did. However, we did big things, big things. The governor hit home runs. He had education reform and health care reform, and it all went through both bodies. It went that way, I believe, because of all the work that many people, Co-Speaker Roblan as well, did prior to the session on getting things organized and ready and bringing people, stakeholders to the table. There were a lot of handprints, a lot of voices and opinions on those two. What did they do? What kind of reform did they do? Well, the education formed a new board. You're going to have a chief executive officer over that board, and that will work to the pleasure of the board. And then there's the early learning part of it, and that's where they've taken a lot of different groups that work with children in the early learning, and they've combined them, or just agencies like the Commission on Children and Families, and they pull those all together. This will be a huge change. You know, it's easy to say it right quick, but it's quite a big change in what will be looked at in education. So then what was health care reform that was so big? Well, one was transformation and one is called exchange. Transformation is where you have the community groups coming together and working together, and each community will work separately. They'll do their own thing. It's local control at its best. In other words,
we
they're
serve
going to
as co-chairs. Co-chair Roblan and I serve on the county payments. As you know, we have counties that are in really dire straits. Curry County, I'm not sure that we can do anything that's going to help them. But what we're afraid of is the domino theory, that if we start and these counties start claiming bankruptcy, where does it end? So we did a few things, and I know that Representative Roblan can elaborate on these. One is we said, if you have money in your road fund, you would be able to use it for public safety. Couldn't use it for just anything, but you could use it for public safety. That means, let's just take Coos County. If Coos County has money in the road fund with this law, and it did pass, they would be able to use road money for deputies.
It was quite an interesting meeting. I had the one advantage of saying, I just got appointed. I'm just here to gather information. Actually, it worked out pretty well. We talked a lot about the kinds of issues and why they were uptight and all those kinds of things. Just before that, there had been the possibility of a steel mill coming out on the Gulf Coast, and they needed water, and that was part of the whole issue. So, and I've spent a lot of time at Lakeside since then, because their lake has problems with a little algae that grows there from time to time, which creates problems, and they've got some septic tank problems that they know of, and most of their septic tanks are also underwater, which is not how you make septic tanks work. So when the lake levels get up, so there are issues, and it's been an interesting time to talk and meet with lots of people in Lakeside over the last number of years. I'm really grateful and humbled to be the elected representative here, and the fact that we had these historic sessions where we ended up with a 30-30 tie, and just so people understand, in the previous session, the House Democrats were 36, which is a supermajority. We could do everything except start without the Republicans. You had to have 40 to actually start the session. If you got to 40, then you wouldn't even need the other party, which would be really bad. But we had 36, which meant that almost anything we wanted to pass, if all 36 of us agreed, you could do it. And we lost six seats in the last election, and they gained 6. So when we went into a little meeting at the beginning of the last session, they were really happy. Our people were not so happy. So it was kind of an interesting dilemma that we found ourselves in. And I was the Speaker Pro Tem the last session. And so when everybody started talking about what we really wanted to get out of the session, our caucus, I think, to their credit, finally decided those places where we can make things work. that develops into both a trust and a relationship that can work. And that's what happened with our sessions. The first session, it was all figuring out who each of us were, and we got a lot of stuff done. And I think that, from my perspective, the largest accomplishment of that session that really spoke to it was the fact that we were in a redistricting year, which is the most political issue that a state can ever do. And in our Constitution, it says it's not political. So it's not political. So here we have a not political job to do with all the most political people. And to the Senate President's credit, we made a committee that was equal in Republicans and Democrats, both from the Senate and the House side. And we put them in a room and we said, guys, work this out. And we actually gave the people who we put in the room the authority to really make the decisions, and we would go sell it. And no one thought it would happen. It has not happened in the legislature. We actually just property went. And in California, they all got used. They built the railroads, they did the stuff, and they used that to do economic development. In Oregon, a lot of the land that was given was never done. So you've got the old wagon road that it goes through here. That was part of the Oregon-California deals. If you go on your way to Eugene, if you go on 38, there's a big sign that talks about Oregon, California land. As you come right out of Drain and make that little curve at the top of the hill and down, there's a big sign there that says you're looking at Oregon, California Railroad. The railroads didn't use it the way they did, so the government took it back. There was a discussion at that time that they should give it to the states, because that's what it was for. They decided that they would keep it for the sole purpose of providing revenue and economic development for the areas in which they live. And BLM tried to manage it the same way they were managing other lands.
This 15-year-old that testified said that was the same mantra that they said to her. Phoebe Prince did commit suicide with the scarf that her sister gave her for Christmas. It was the most tragic, tragic story. Do you know that when she actually had finished the whole thing, they wrote "Mission Accomplished" across her face? This is cruelty, unbelievable. It is not just some little fist fight on the school grounds. It used to be, when I was in school, somebody bullied you, you know, you bloodied their nose, or even got your big brother to go help take care of them. And that was the end of it. Cyberbullying is different. It is on the internet. They can take your reputation. They can put anything. It's all anonymous. You don't have to say you did it. It is a terrible thing. This law is going to help it. It's not going to probably take care of human behavior 100%, because you can't do that. That just isn't going to work. But this is going to be a step in the right direction. I'm so proud of it. The governor's proud of it. And it was a great signing yesterday. So thank you very much for the question.
Stan, I did a favor for you one night because you were up in Salem, and the Coos Bay School Foundation gave you a recognition for your cyberbullying bill, and it's been out in my car ever since.
I actually got to carry the bill in the House. It was an honor, and also listen to all the testimony. It doesn't have any hard and fast things. This is going to happen to you, punishments. It requires each district to have their own policies, and that's where that should work. The group that gave the best testimony from my perspective was a group of kids from Lincoln High School who have started a whole group about anti-bullying in their school. And they took the previous bill that you got passed a couple of years ago on bullying in general in school, and they used that to develop a whole program about, you know, it doesn't need to be this way. And they go around to schools promoting the fact that if you see somebody bullying, you have an obligation to step right in at the moment and be helpful to the other person. Their testimony was, you know, we don't expect this bill to change the world, but we're going to use this bill so that we can continue to do the education that we think we need to, so that people can start recognizing, instead of hearing the statement that, well, it's always been that way, we're going to say, well, it doesn't need to stay that way. And we can change the whole tenor of our schools. And I was very impressed with their testimony.
And the nice thing is that the National School Psychologists have picked up this anti-bullying program that has been developed by these 3 young people at Lincoln High School, and they are going to try to get it to go nationwide. Excellent. And what they're doing is they're saying, look, when you're bullied, this is the way you respond. You are a good person, and this is not going to happen to you. You don't have to do, you're not by yourself, you're not alone. It's a wonderful program, very, very bright.
And
Thank
Senator
you for that.
Verger, you also got an award from them.
They were very helpful, and I will tell you that the bullying bill went through every committee unanimously, and off the Senate floor and off the House floor unanimously. There was not one vote against it.
But it took us a long time to get it.
It did.